Trent, Willis, and I'm the president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union Local 10.
Just starting off, how are you feeling today? Kind of a broad question, but what are your feelings with all these folks around and with it being Juneteenth?
Well, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling proud to be a member of our organization. As you may know, the call for this action came from the Bay Area locals here. First Local 10, then my brothers and sisters in Local 34, ILWU Local 34, ILWU Local 91, and ILWU Local 75, along with the Inland Boatmen's Union, the IBU. And we sent our call to every ILWU local, 29 locals up and down the coast, and everybody decided that it was that important. They decided to join us, and this is why the coast is shut down for the first shift today in honor of Juneteenth.
How many people is that involved?
Well, as far as the coast is concerned, we have roughly over 10,500 members of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union. Here in the Bay Area, if you put all of the locals together, there's roughly, I would say, close to 4,000 of us.
So power in numbers.
There are power in numbers, and there is also power in labor. And it's time that the labor movement put its labor where its mouth is and started to do our part, in particular black labor, to do our part in ending systemic racism and police brutality in society. It's absolutely wonderful to see that, but being a member of the ILWU, we're not surprised because our whole tradition, everything that's included in our bylaws and principles guide us to what you see today. We are a 100% inclusive union that does not believe in any type of discrimination, any type of bias. For example, a black man member of the ILWU makes the same as a white member of the ILWU. A woman ILWU member makes the same as a man. An ILWU member that's a Muslim makes the same as an ILWU member that's a Christian. That is embedded into our guidelines, and it's the core foundation reason as to why we are still here today and why we are a strong union and known all across the country.
On July 5th, you're going to be commemorating the general strike that led to the formation of this union. Do you think it's time in this country for workers together to take those kind of actions nationally?
Yeah, absolutely. You're never going to have any change nationally until you make an economic impact. There's never been change in this country without economic impact. Unfortunately, the controllers or the rulers or whatever you want to call them of the capitalist system, that's all they understand is money. The key word is capitalize. So in order to be super rich and control all of the resources, then there has to be some type of capitalizing on the poor and working man. Okay, that's called systemic oppression. Okay, systemic racism is just a part of systemic oppression, which when people start to understand systemic oppression, then we understand how we're all in the same boat, black, white, red, yellow, brown, all in the same boat. We're all workers, and the powers that be that run the capitalist system wants to disenfranchise every one of us, not just black and brown people. That's why it's important to end systemic racism, because it's part of a bigger plot.
And you've said in the past that you want to see the formation of a workers' party, a labor party for people in the United States. How would that change the political situation?
Well, because you wouldn't have the two parties that we have representing people now are basically representing the rich. The system that we have in place now allows rich people to lobby elected representatives. Unfortunately, the majority of working people in this country live under substandard conditions. They're poor. We don't have the money and the resources to lobby congressmen and senators. So we have to use what we have to fight back. And the only thing we have is our labor. This is the whole purpose of why this action is happening today. We're using our labor to get our representatives' attention. That's money. That represents money. It's the same thing that a rich corporation does when they lobby a congressman. They use money and donations.
And one of the demands is against the privatization of the port. John Fisher, billionaire owner of the A's, wants to take over the Howard Terminal. Is that part of the issue for ILWU, for working people in this country, privatization?
Yeah, it's a huge part of the issue. I just got finished explaining that, where we have a billionaire who wants to come to town and to buy up public land that belongs to the citizens of Oakland. Okay, doesn't belong. It's not supposed to be up for sale to big business. Okay, he wants to take public land that's used to create union high-paying jobs, and he wants to build a playground stadium there where the A's will play. And we're not against the A's. We just want the A's to stay where they're at right now. Okay, there's no reason why they need to move to downtown and play on land that's used for good jobs. Because the jobs that are going to replace those union jobs in that stadium are low-paying minimum wage jobs. How does that help the community? Okay, this is one of the highest-priced communities in the country. Okay, there's not many houses out there in the community that are worth less than $1 million. Okay, how are you going to buy $1 million house working at the A's stadium? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. You know, you make minimum wage, you're not going to even be able to live in the Bay Area, much less buy a house. You know, so we need good-paying union jobs. We need strong unions, not run by business unionists, where the membership runs the union from the bottom up, and then we'll have a stronger foundation for working people in this country. And we also need representation on the legislative level. If the Democrats and Republicans are not willing to represent working people and they only want to represent big business, then we need representation. We need a Labor Party. Every other country on this planet has a Labor Party within their government, except here, except within this capitalist system, because it doesn't benefit big business.
My name is Keith Shanklin. I am the ILWU Local 34 president. I'm the co-chair of the Stop the Police Violence Terror against systemic racism. It's a long title, but I'm sure I'll get it right before the end of the day.
So what are the issues for you today? Juneteenth is historic. Trump now says that he brought the attention of Juneteenth, and most people didn't even know about Juneteenth.
Further goes on to prove that the 45 who's in office right now is so far disconnected from the truth. His own advisors told him that you've been sending out a press release for the last 3 years, Mr. President. You don't remember that? But it goes to prove that he's not connected, because I don't know if you remember the press conference they had with Dr. Fauci and the other scientists sitting there with him talking about COVID-19. He said, well, at least they didn't have COVID-18. I said, what? She said, Mr. President, it's only because of the year. That's why it's called COVID-19. Oh, well, I didn't know that. Obviously, there's a lot of things you don't know. And first thing you don't know, that we're tired. We're tired of business as usual. We want some kind of resolve here. We're looking for a way out. The youth are energized because what the youth seen on May 25th, 2020 has separated the divide that we have between black and white. That divide has been lifted. The curtain has been unveiled. They can see for themselves that there is oppression out there. They need to step up and be accounted for. And that's what they're doing. We've had the youth out here in droves to push forth the effort of change. It's time for a change.
And the ILW, what are the issues? The stadium, privatization? The ILW itself is under attack. Lawsuits. I mean, it seems like a lot of people are going after the ILW.
Well, it's usually that way. Usually when people who are about to affect change, they find a way to oppress them. They find a way to silence them. You had Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers. These were people who were in the forefront to evoke a change. They were terminated by a racist society. All of them met an assassin's bullet, okay? They didn't die of natural causes, but their causes are still being fought today. And privatization that we have going on here today is a billionaire looking for a way to change a way of life of people who can actually afford to do something in the society without having to give up their whole livelihood.
And what do you say today to John Fisher? He wants to take over Howard Terminal. He runs the KIPP chain and the rocket ship chain. They're building charter schools, Malcolm X in San Francisco. They want a co-location. It seems like he and his family, Doris Fisher, the Gap, that own the Gap, they really want to take over everything to make more money for themselves.
Enough is enough, but it's hard to tell a person who tries to breed money to stop, because all they want to do is gain more. And the way they do that is to step on the little guy. They don't care about what's going on here in this port. If they did, they would have looked at the stadium that they already have out there in East Oakland. It's the infrastructure there. You got BART, you got the train, you got the pathways, you got the overcrossing. You have none of that downtown Oakland. They put two bills in the Senate, Assemblyman Bonta and Nancy Skinner. They both said that they weren't going to be, our mayor said that no public funds are going to be used to build this stadium. But she didn't say that there wasn't going to be funds used to make that for a public domain and for infrastructure. Over $100 million of our tax dollars went to the infrastructure of a stadium that's not even built yet. When you got homeless people that could use that money. You could have, with $100 million, how many people you could have got off the streets? We need to start looking at where we're putting our money and where we're putting our politicians. We need a change. Vote for a change. Vote for people who are going to do for you what you need them to do, not for what they're going to do on their own. We need a positive motivation. We need people to do the right thing.